I should have made a different thing to do this to make sure that I could share my screen. Okay, pretty sure I could. Great. Excelente. Can I pause it? Can I be unlive? This is my first time doing YouTube live, so we're figuring it out together. If you're watching a replay, you should jump ahead about 8 minutes. If I end the stream, can I reopen the stream? Ooh, let's find out. Okay, your stream will stop immediately and you will no longer be live. I know that, but can I restart it? Don't know. Hard to say. Woo. Excellent. So I have a disease called ADHD, in which I didn't prep this or practice beforehand. What I should have done was made a sample YouTube live and then gone live and made sure that I understood how to operate everything. Also, the camera is reversed. That's my right hand, which makes sense, but I'm not used to it. Wah! I hope they let me edit this. Oh, there was a person here. There's not a person here anymore. Hi, person who was here. Well, you're not anymore. It's fine. Just biding my time for 5 minutos. Timestamps. Okay, we can turn timestamps on. Pop out the chat. That's helpful. I'm going to put that over on my other screen. And then what? Okay. But it doesn't really change the size of my screen, so it's going back. Anyway, I'm here doing this. 5:58. Time approaches. Time approaches. Loud sounds happening outside my house. We're vibing. We're vibing. We're creative and we're vibing. What's that feature? I don't have access to it, but one day maybe I could. Time is here. It is 6 o'clock. I should go put this on the Discord channel. Okay. I'm just going to begin. Let's see, y'all. Okay. So, hey, hi, hello. It is time for Art is Revolution. Art is Rebellion? Art is Revolution? What do I call this thing? We're going with Art is Revolution. Even though I named the presentation Art is Rebellion. It's both. Those go together, right? Okay, delightful. So, jumping into it. This training sesh, hangout, chillaxy time is for you if you are most assuredly a passionate creative person, but you never have time for your passionate creative pursuits. Glad you're here. If you try to monetize every hobby to turn it into a side hustle to like justify it in your own mind, like you can only do it if it's monetized. And also if you love starting new projects, but you lose steam halfway through, you might just have ADHD. I do. This is the right place. You're here. I'm so happy. So we're going to start off with a question. You deserve time for your passions. How do you respond to that? Typically, people will fall into one of two major categories. Number one, hustle culture. You struggle to create regularly because you lack motivation or inspiration. You feel the pressure to monetize your hobbies to make them feel like a good use of your time, like they are worthwhile. You may feel guilt or shame over the unproductive time that you spend on your creative hobbies, which means that they're not a great time. It's just like when you're resting. If you're resting and beating yourself up, you're not really resting very well. And if you are engaging in playful things, creative things, relaxing things while you're feeling guilt and shame, then you're not really engaging with that creative part of yourself so much as you are like doing so at like emotional gunpoint. Also in hustle culture, you feel too busy to even have hobbies. So like if that's you, shout it out in the chat. So common. And also under hustle culture, you may very well be like a gifted kid who received like the potential message your whole youth. Every time you were in school, like you just have so much potential. Oh my God, stop talking about potential, right? The opposite of hustle culture is what I call rebel culture. And I'm pretty sure that the little video of me is on top of the quote here, but it says, fuck you, this is my me time, because that is how I feel. So when you are a creative rebel, embracing this more rebellious side of the hustle rebel spectrum, you protect the boundaries around your creative activities. You can make art without feeling too much pressure to side hustle it. You make creativity part of your play, your rest, your recovery. You treat it as self-care, part of your self-care routine. You are compassionate when you make a mistake, when you fall back into that hustle mindset. You're not beating yourself up about it. You're not having guilt and shame. And you see your creativity as an inherent part of yourself and your needs. So which one are you? Are you in hustle culture or are you in rebel culture? Also, please feel free to comment in the chat the whole time I'm talking because I love hearing from you. Now, a brief introduction to myself. Some people signed up after like knowing me for a while. Some of you are my subscribers. Some of you are like, who's this person? So for those of you, I'm going to give a little intro to myself. I was a professional full-time marketer and I super duper burned out. So up until I realized that I was neurodivergent, I did not know I had ADHD until I was like 30, 31. And same with being autistic. I have since done a lot of work to unmask. And so I now consider myself part of that rebel culture because I'm doing so much of the work to disengage from that like productivity and professionalism mindset. So up until that point, which was not that long ago, I always believed like the stories about how to get ahead, right? So like always be professional, go above and beyond, over deliver, which is code for like give your bosses excess labor that they don't pay you for. Know your worth, but don't be too cocky and don't stand out too much. So like, I don't know, advocate for yourself maybe 60% of the time. Being told like that's just how it works in this industry or in this job. This is what it means to be a professional. This is what it means to have a career, whatever. And passion projects are a nice addition to your life once you have finished everything on your to-do list. What pain in the ass. I did not want to upset anybody. I didn't want to talk about big polarizing ideas. I didn't want to make too much noise. I wanted to people please, basically. I wanted to like be creative enough to feel good, but I didn't want to ruffle anybody's feathers, which I see now as a bit of a boring existence. So something had to change. Professionalism, first of all, made up. That just means that you fit within the cis het white patriarchy. Ew. Personality and vibrancy are part of what make you who you are. Do not tone yourself down. Do not ever water yourself down, break pieces of yourself off in order to fit in. Gross. Hate that. There's always room to change an industry or change a social norm. I'm not here for just being like, well, that's the way it's always been done. Therefore, that's the way that I have to do it or that you have to do it. There's no one way to be creative or to be professional. And passion is what makes you who you are, just like your personality and your style and your vibrancy. Your creativity and passion is always a part of you. It's not something that you even should want to be able to turn off and on. Like creativity, I can speak. Creativity is delicious and delightful and like part of how we live as humans. So I myself realized that I could keep trying to fit into the culture of hustle and shame and try to make art and write stuff that would connect with everyone, most people. You know, I hope some people just inherently are like, no, I don't want to listen to that queer fat person over there. Like, good, those people should go away. Or I could embrace my bold, bright, beautiful self and rebel against that system. And that's much more freeing, even though it's frustrating sometimes because it's hard. So when we go into thinking about creativity, often we think it means like really high standards, right? So make art every day, master your craft, master every technique. You have to be on TikTok and show everything that you're working on all the time. It's freaking exhausting. If you do art for money, you're making like really good money on your commissions. You have the best art supplies. You have the perfect pen, the perfect apps that you use. You never make a mistake. You never run out of inspiration, and you are flawless. All of that is fake. That's all just made up nonsense bullshit. Fake. Art is not about performance or perfection. It is about you. It is about you deserving that time with your creativity. It is about you believing that that is possible and available to you. Standing up to the capitalist, white supremacist, patriarchal status quo is what creativity is about. And that's tasty and zesty. Also, it's not all or nothing. Something that I have been utilizing with a lot of my clients is the concept of all or something. A little teeny baby step. Open up an art project and look at it, then close it again and walk away if you want. You don't have to carve out 6 hours at a time to engage with your passion and creativity. So what's in your way? 3 major, what I call like capitalist lies, keeping people from being their most creative selves. Number 1, lack of confidence. Number 2, being stuck in survival mode, which is real. Like, you can't be expected to fully embrace your art and your creativity when you're worrying about how to pay rent. And also the sort of spectrum between like needs and wants and where we view our creative pursuits on that seesaw, on that teeter-totter. Very grateful to Canva for this image of a brain and a heart on a seesaw. So what's lack of confidence really mean? This can look like, so even if you think like, no, I'm a confident artist, do you let yourself invest in nice art supplies? Do you let yourself use those nice art supplies, even on something that you know is probably not going to be a masterpiece? Are you a perfectionist? Do you have negative self-talk when you make mistakes? Do you take time for your passions or tell yourself that you don't really have the time for your passions because they're like just hobbies? That's a lack of confidence in your creative nature as a human being. Also, lack of confidence can look like having trouble accepting compliments because you're just a beginner, you're just an amateur, you're just a giant stinky imposter fraud. Okay? Relatable? Pop it in the chat. We'll talk about it. Again, the video is like, I'm nodding my head to the right toward the chat box on my screen, but on the screen, it's going to the left, whatever, it's fine. This is how I am. Being creative is not something with rules. Creativity is part of you, and it is not a part that it's like hunger. Like we hunger for art, we hunger to be creative, we hunger for story. It's just part of how we are. So I also talked about survival mode. Also, these aren't the capitalist lies. The capitalist lies come later. These are just the common obstacles. Hello, new people joining. Feel free to pop in the chat. Tell me who you are, where you're coming from. Survival mode is another huge factor that stops you from engaging with creativity because it's really hard to go and spend time on your hobbies and your passions when you are having trouble meeting your basic needs. So the survival mode looks like too many responsibilities to even think about self-care, working multiple jobs to manage, to stay afloat, to pay your bills, Like, survival mode looks like making it through the day without crying, or even making it through the day with crying. It's so hard to let yourself relax, disengage from that to-do list, and just be creative when when so much is on the line, when you need to be focusing on making money, etc. And it's not perfect. And it's also not something that we just achieve. Okay, I've achieved my survival needs. This is why I hate Maslow's hierarchy, right? We should be talking about that. So in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it starts with your basic survival needs, and then we get to community needs and interpersonal needs, and then at the very top is self-actualization and creative fulfillment. I say fuck all that. First of all, you deserve creative fulfillment at every stage of your life. Can I say this many swear words on YouTube Live? We're going for it. I said it's not for kids. So back to survival mode. Yeah, that's normal. You can't always just be like, tra-la-la, today is a day for creativity. I get that. I am not under any false pretenses that you can just be like, I don't have to work today. That's not how this works. While you cannot always opt out of the capitalist machine entirely, you can resist. Maybe somebody calls you and is like, can you cover a shift? And you're like, can't. Got plans. And your plans are a nap and working on your book. They don't have to know what your plans are. Resisting in little teeny tiny ways, totally great. That's how we win, right? By billions of people resisting productivity and hustle culture, little teeny steps at a time. And then on the spectrum of your needs versus your wants, we tend to consider practical survival necessities as needs, and everything else is an indulgence. Everything else is an optional luxury. Not so. Creativity is a need, like privacy and community are needs. When we assume that a need for creativity is driven by I need to buy these colored pencils. I want stuff. That's not it, because you can engage your creativity without having to buy stuff. Also, being afraid of investing in those creative needs because of outside judgment. So you're worried about what your mom's going to say. And she's like, oh, so you had to borrow money to get your rent paid. And yet I see some new watercolor paper in your house. Back off. Chill. Spirituality, community, friendship, privacy, those are all needs. So is creativity. So we need to start divesting from this idea that creativity is a cherry on top. It's not a cherry on top. It's part of humanity. So when you decide, because it can be a decision, sometimes it takes repetitive reminders, but when you decide and internalize that you don't have to prove yourself in order to deserve creativity, what thoughts and feelings come up? Go ahead and pop those in the chat, or I guess the chat's over here if I'm looking at where I'm pointing. I'm not seeing anything come through yet, but I will be watching. So now we are at the capitalist lies, okay? 3 major capitalist lies when it comes to creativity. 1 is that you got to go fast. 2 is that you got to be original. And 3 is that you got to justify it. So we're going to dive in. Lie number 1 is that your passions should be fast and functional in order to fit into your life. If you haven't accessed your creativity in years, maybe you feel like you don't know how anymore. You try and get back right where you left off. And then you feel frustrated when the talent, when the passion, when the motivation, when the inspiration don't come running right back. So when it doesn't happen fast, we tend to give up. When operating under a capitalist paradigm, yeah, I could see why. But you can opt out of that pressure to be productive, efficient, and fast. That's an option. Anything that brings joy to your life is a revolutionary act when you decide to opt out of that hustle productivity culture and engage with something just because you like it, just because it's playful, just because it's fulfilling for you, revolutionary. I'm going to sneeze. Hell yeah, mute button. Very proud of myself. Okay. Giant capitalism lie number 2. Your ideas must be original to be worthwhile. Perfectionism and hustle culture tells you that you have to make something totally original or else the work doesn't matter. If somebody else has even thought of this idea, even had it in a vacuum far, far away from you, then it's not worth it. So why is that a lie? Because how many times have we remade Spider-Man? How many times have we remade X-Men? Like, how many times do they just like, we're going to start this timeline over and this comic book character gets a whole new wardrobe and background and whatever. It's okay to be inspired by another work, to be influenced by another work. It is okay to have an idea that's a little bit similar to somebody else's idea. I don't really think there's any original ideas anymore. You keeping your creative expression under wraps out of that fear of not being original enough only serves the exploitive culture that keeps you from standing out in a crowd. And you deserve to stand out in a crowd. You deserve to be creative. Imagine a world full of people unapologetically expressing their creativity. And I chose this image in the background that is obviously of children on purpose, because when we are children, we are inherently passionate. We are inherently creative. And we lose that as we age because we go to school and we start learning, like they kind of start separating out like the really talented artists or musicians or writers from the just sort of like amateur so-so artists and musicians and writers. And so some of those become just general ed, extracurricular type things. And some of us start to go into like special programs because only the most talented should get to do art all the time. That's the lie. And it's not true, because you cannot separate creativity from being human. And being a master of a craft is not the end goal of creativity. Creativity doesn't have an end goal. It is play. It is playfulness. It is human. Line number 3, your hobby should make money. Turning everything you love into a side hustle means justifying the time, money, energy that you put into it. Because spending money or time on yourself is only valuable if it is productive or profitable. Profitable? Yeah, I said it like that. Didn't mean to, but we're going with it. The belief that you only deserve that time, energy, and fun for yourself if you earn it, which means you make a profit from it, is internalized capitalism. That is not how art is supposed to work. Art is just art. But these creativity crushers are very normal, very common. They're not uniquely special. They are not seeking you out to attack you personally. They happen to everybody. However, they do not have to limit your creativity. You can opt out. You can start unlearning. Has this shifted how you view and value your creativity? Pop it in the chat. Pop it in the comments. If you're watching the replay, I want to hear from you. I want to hear what about this is resonating in particular for you. So please let me know. There's a choice. Like, we can keep hustling, or we can start to rebel against that status quo. I invite you to a new paradigm of how we think about art and creativity. So I call this the Creative Rebels Handbook. And what I want to do is actually like write a little ebook and pop it on my website. It's not done yet because I have ADHD and I just have 1,000 ideas all the time. but we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to introduce you to this framework. So there's 3 kind of ongoing steps. It's not linear. It's not a pyramid. It's not a hierarchy. This is how you consistently remind yourself of the connection between creativity and humanity. So resist, create, recruit. Resist, unlearning the norms of productivity culture and internalized capitalism. Create on your terms for your own joy and fulfillment. Recruit by inspiring other people to do the same thing. Because when you make art and share it with the world, or you write poetry and share it with the world, or you sing or dance or do whatever you do and share it with the world, and you let yourself be a little weirdo about it, that inspires other people. That shows other people what is possible for them too. And that is invaluable. So what does resistance mean? To be a creative rebel, you have to unlearn a lot of the things that you think you know. You have to acknowledge and question the common beliefs that our society treats as like fact. So productivity and internalized capitalism, not inherently factual. Those are just norms. Those are just beliefs that we have collectively opted into as a society. So I have a little quiz for you, Cosmo style. When you are sick or very tired, do you try to work as hard as you usually do, or do you rest? Do you take it easy? Here we go. So obviously, if you keep working just as hard, that puts you in the hustle category, versus if you take it easy when you are feeling super sick or tired, that makes you a little more rebellious against that status quo. Do you consider domestic tasks to be work, or do you count them separately from work and labor that makes money? In hustle culture, you're more likely to view those as separate components. Like domestic work doesn't count as work because work is only valuable if it makes money. But if you are more of a rebel against productivity culture, you're going to be like, no, that counts as work. If you encourage other people to go easy on themselves and lower their high expectations, do you do the same for yourself? The hustle is like, no, I'm different. Everybody else should rest except for me. And how this comes up for my writing clients is they're like, oh yes, everyone else is allowed to write a first draft that is not perfect, but my first draft shall indeed be perfect. And I have to remind them over and over again that, like, no, sweetie, that's for everybody. Everybody is imperfect. But still, that inner gifted kid trauma of being like, no, I can do it. I can do it on the first try. Coach, just put me in. No. Chill out. The rebel can chill out a little. The rebel can remember, I do not have to be perfect. When you are not available 24/7 and you miss a friend's message or call that is not an emergency, how do you react? Is there guilt and shame there? The person who opts into hustle culture and being constantly available culture is freaking out. They're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I missed your call. I was like taking a shower or pooping or eating or doing something I need to do for my human body. A rebel is like, oh, hey, what's up? Because you do not have to be on all the time. Examine that in yourself. If you're hungry, and I admit ADHD and neurodivergent folks, autistics, with this caveat, asterisk. If you are hungry, do you pause what you're doing or do you wait until afterward to eat? So hustle person / neurodivergent person who doesn't have very good interoception and awareness of their hunger signals is going to be like, hell yeah, I'm just going to keep going. Whereas the rebel is like, I am hungry. I shall pause this work that I am doing so that I can go meet my human needs. Okay. Again, the neurodivergence makes that kind of a tough call. And then when you are relaxing, do you try to do something productive during your downtime? like folding laundry while you watch TV or checking your work email while you're on vacation, like just to check, just to see. The hustle culture person is going to be like, yes, I life hack every single moment of my day. I am always being productive. And the rebel, I think that you can't see it because my little video pop out is on top of it, but it says only because my ADHD won't let me pay attention to the TV. So I'm going to go ahead and allow that, because sometimes you can't relax and watch TV unless your brain's doing something else. So like, if that's you, please go ahead and fold the laundry. But check yourself. Don't check email on vacation. Don't do that. So now that we've gone through that kind of internalized capitalism, starting to examine and question that, just interrogate it a little bit. How does it feel to imagine that you and your creative passions and your level of inspiration as it is today is actually enough? You do not have to perform, perfect, profit from every single thing that you do. So go ahead and post in the chat, or if you're watching a replay, post in the comments. Ooh, I just found a thing where I switched it from top chat to live chat. So now I can see messages as they come in. Cool. Create is the next part of our new paradigm, which is that once you start believing that you have everything that you need inherently to be creative and to embrace that passion, now you got to do stuff, right? Now it's time to be creative and create. So the question here is, how can I resist capitalism creatively today? Maybe that is taking a slow, mindful walk and noticing the different flowers or the different birds or the different whatever that you can see in your neighborhood, like just something that is a little bit small, a little bit slow, and a little bit in your human body. You're not rushing it to get back to work. You're not rushing because somebody needs you. You're just like, no, I exist right now. And maybe that means that you color a page in a like mindfulness coloring book in the evening, or that you go to bed early, or whatever. How can you resist capitalism creatively? Committing to creativity in any capacity, which means big or small, long-term, short-term, 60 seconds, 60 minutes, all day, and embracing that as part of your resistance against the status quo means you are doing creative rebellion. So commit to that. What commitment can you make? What tiny commitment can you make that starts to wear this down just a little bit? What if you don't have time to be creative every day? That's okay. What if you want to sell your art? That's okay. What if you figuring out how your art can be activism is the right place for you in the process right now? Like, what if that's okay? What if figuring out those details is fine? Because you don't have to be perfect about it. Finally, we have the recruit portion of the paradigm. And this is what happens when you start being yourself out loud and when you start sharing your art and creativity with other people. So once you can see that art is activism, you can inspire other people to believe that too. But it starts with you. Once you see that art is activism, it's less personal. You're less worried about criticism. And you realize that it's more about changing this overall culture in the world about perfection and productivity. Once you see that art is activism, you don't focus as much on how good it looks or how well you did or how long it takes. You're just creative because that's part of it. And in this world that wants cookie cutter art and stuff at Hobby Lobby and random prints and viral videos that are like on trend and immediately available, being weird and just letting yourself live your weird little freak life is revolutionary. That is an act of revolution. You did it. You're a rebel. You are inherently creative. This is the one key takeaway that I want you to take from this today. You are inherently creative, and you get to decide what that means. it is time. The time is nigh. It is upon us for you to let yourself embrace your creative desires and finally treat them like real needs instead of the cherry on top of a to-do list. You don't have to earn creativity. You are a creative person. I would love to tell you a little bit about how I can help facilitate that. So we are now transitioning into a pitch section, but we're starting with hella free stuff. Love free stuff. Love to give you free stuff. I want you to take advantage of all the free stuff, okay? Because I never shut up. So we've got workshops and trainings like this one. I try to do one like at least quarterly. Ideally, I would love to do a free workshop every month, but sometimes I forget that the months are happening. I also have a blog on my website, which is an advice column called Ask Fish, which I find delightful. You can ask a question. You can read the blog. You can do whatever. And I have a podcast, the Neurodivergent Creative Podcast, which you should be subscribing to my YouTube right now if you can hear my voice. New episode every Friday, usually. Sometimes we skip a week. As well as there is a free Neurodivergent Creative Pod membership that is just for any neurodivergent creative. We hang out, we make weird art, we talk about it. I've also got stuff for under $10. I've got ebooks and trainings for writing, for self-love, for general creativity, for time management. Everything I do kind of hinges around neurodivergence. So, fun fact, pro tip, neurodivergence and being weird. That's me. There's also courses. I have a novel writing course and a general creativity course. I do coaching. I do a writing coaching incubator, as well as some like one-off sessions or a 6-month long-term package if that's what you're into. But most specifically today, I would like to talk to you about the Neurodivergent Creative Pod's Vault membership. So this is a low-cost monthly membership. I sort of think of it as like a Patreon, but I don't have to also manage a Patreon. So when you join the Vault membership, you get on-demand access to call replays and like 3 years worth of creative workshops. We are also starting up an executive function co-op, which means that you can drop in and do a task for somebody else and then ask somebody else for help on a task that you have, because it's freaking hard to make the calls by yourself or cancel your own gym membership. And also as a Vault member, you can add your input for new call times and new workshop themes. So that is just like a little bonus gift that I like to give people who are contributing their monthly burrito to the Neurodivergent Creative Pod to help me build this space for neurodivergent creative people. So this is only $7 a month. I wanted to price it at a level that was basically free. Basically free. And you can join the pod for free. Calls, body doubling calls, workshop calls, book club calls. We got create alongs where we specifically will focus on like one type of art, like fiber arts or painting or like whatever. There's just stuff. We're constantly doing stuff in here. And you can access that for free. But also, if you're like, hell yeah, that's dope, put it in a tip jar, $7 a month. That helps us host all of the replays and workshops, and then you get those extra benefits. So I really wanted to make it like as close to free as I could. So just a few examples of what has happened for people who join like this more sort of intentional membership level. This is Ashton. And Ashton says that they literally can't imagine their life without the Creative Rebel membership. So I did previously have a Creatives Rebellion program, and I sort of destroyed that and turned it into the Neurodivergent Creative Pod so that I could reduce the price and make it more accessible. So while these testimonials are from technically a different program, it's not really a different program. I just changed it. I have a disease called ADHD. I changed stuff. So Ashton says, creativity used to be the first thing to go when shit hit the fan, but now it is the first place I turn to center myself. That is the power of creative rebellion, my friends. And then Shannon says, this membership is like keeping my finger on my creative pulse point to make sure it's still beating. I'm less focused on the outcomes and immersed more deeply in the process of learning, creating, and having fun. And then this part's like my favorite. Give Caitlin a few months and you will start seeing life in a whole new way. One that lets you explore your passions without neglecting your responsibilities. And Shannon is a busy mother of teenagers. So love that for her. And this is Meredith, who says there is something so powerful about seeing people fearlessly pursuing the things that set their souls on fire without shame or guilt, and investing in themselves because Caitlin gives them the tools to do it in a way they've never done it before. So that is what this is all about for me, is helping people access that inherent creativity, talk about it, celebrate it, love it, and make it reality. So a final plea, everybody who joins this Vault Access for $7 in May will get stickers in the mail, because I love stickers and I love sending mail. So this live is happening on May 18th, which means you've got like 2 weeks to sign up. Give me your $7 and I will give you stickers, as well as a freaking wealth of programming and calls and workshops and all the things. And we have a Discord server and a Facebook group, and we just hang out and we're creative all the time. And it's one of my favorite things in the world. So we can now go to a Q&A portion, but I think I am out of live participants. But anybody watching this as a replay, I think I mostly got people here who are like already in the pod. So they're like, I don't need to hear about this. Love that for you. But we can, oh no, I don't want to end my stream. I want my sharing. Haha, I did it. Press buttons. Okay. Any questions? Put them in the comments. I will be around. It's YouTube, right? Subscribe, like, do the things. And head to askfishfisher.com. And you have to put a www before it, because if you don't, the internet is like, this doesn't exist. So www.askfishfisher.com. That'll have links to free stuff, $9 stuff, other stuff, the pod, which again, you can join the free level or the $7 level. $7 level is how you get some stickers in the mail. Okay. Hooray! I'm very excited. Thank you for being here at my first YouTube live ever. And let me know if you want me to do more of these, because I think I had fun. Okay, bye.